in the listing agreement. Automatic extension clauses are illegal in Illinois. So if you've signed up with a seller to broker their property, you cannot have a clause in there that says after, let's just say we signed up for a year to broker the property with somebody. It can't say, unless I otherwise hear from you, right? You know, we all have, you know, signed up for free things like that, right? You know, trials and stuff like that for software and stuff. Unless you cancel it, you know, it's gonna keep going. A listing agreement can't say that. If that person wants to hire us again for another period, once the first one terminated, there can't be something in the clause that says it automatically renews. You gotta get another signature, you know, to prove that they wanna stay in that past the first listing period with any brokerage. So automatically extending the period of contract, that's violation of Illinois state licensing law. Now, a safety clause is this. A safety clause is to prevent that last bullet when we talked about instances in which a broker might still be entitled to the commission if the seller did, you know, one of these like bad acts, basically, you know, deciding not to sell, but a certain requirement now, private restriction. The last bullet said there's a mutual agreement between the buyer and the seller, like cancel the contract. But I also said, hey, maybe the mutual agreement is, hey, my listing agreement ends next week. Why don't you come back and sign the contract after I don't have to pay Kale 7% or, you know, whatever. So you're about to expire. So a safety clause would come into effect. A listing agreement just expired. You would decide by contract how long the safety period we're going to last. Typically like a 30-day period is common. So if within those 30 days, after the listing agreement expired, someone that you brought to the table, you know, you showed them the property prior, they come back after the listing agreement has ended. Like I said, you know, you would agree how long that's up for free will contract, but they're typical to be 30 days. They come back to the seller 30 days later and go into contract, you know, without you involved. You'd be entitled, the safety clause would say, hey, no, you guys still pay your broker. And it's a big exception though, and this is the exception, unless that seller went and hired another agency. Then the safety clause is null and void. And this is my personal opinion as to why that clause works like that. Because if I still wanted to broker my property, and I had it with you for 6 months, a year, why not I just go back to you, right? If there was a reason I didn't like your services or something. So I think there's that flavor in there, right? That the safety clause ends up being void if I go hire somebody else. Because I didn't choose to go back and just re-sign up with you. I didn't, you know, like I'm saying, I don't want to put too many hypos in there, but for a reason I didn't go sign back up with you. I went to another brokerage. So then the safety clause isn't even, you know, valid anymore at all. Can't protect that. This is a great next section to read over, but not a highly tested on section, the whole listing process. Back to, like I said, every brokerage, you know, is going to tailor itself, but it gives you what is in a listing agreement. It's not a bad idea to pull a sample one down, like I said, I often do if I'm, you know, helping somebody with something for the first time. I'll look at sample contract. You can pull down a sample listing agreement, you know, and just kind of look at it and compare it to these pages right here. And this is a great little list at the bottom of page 282, the listing agreement content, if you just want to dumb it down to here. The listing price of the property, they agreed on a commission. Obviously, those are the two most important. How much does our CMA, you know, reasonably say we should list your property for? Hopefully your seller's on board, because that's one of the humps to get over. The seller thinks we should list it for more than what our research has proved it will sell for, you know, so, and the agreed upon commission. The duration, obviously just as important, that you are going to market it. Everybody's name, the signatures, you know, we would like to have with the it's nice to have a legal description, but, you know, at least the address of the property. And I said every contract is going to say, a real estate contract, that we need a statement of non-discrimination and a statement of antitrust laws violation. Remember, like, I introduced that when we were talking about the management agreement, but any contract that's real estate related will also have anti-discrimination language and don't violate antitrust laws. I'm just going to just pop up in all these lists. So I'm just, like I said, this chapter kind of gets swallowed up by most of the other chapters. We've gone over the rule that who's ever on title has to sign the listing agreement, but that one little pocket where somebody might not be on title is the spouse of someone selling because of homestead rights. And that's the reason. great list on page 286 at the top where it says minimum services to be performed by brokers. What the listing agreements, minimum services are. When I was going briefly the other day over cold AC, and I said the first duty of the fiduciary is care, and I said, I kind of see it like, having a baby, and all the things you need to do to make sure the baby doesn't fall on his head, and, sitting around in a soiled diaper and gets fed and stuff. This is a list, right? I gotta bring all offers. Well, I gotta market the property, right? We gotta get it out there, whatever venues we're gonna market it. I gotta bring all offers, that's one of the basics, and help come up with sales prices and help come up with what we're gonna, go in from a buyer's side as negotiating. Those are just the basics. It's a nice little list. I like to jump to the buyer's agency agreements because, just to compare and contrast them, but that's the end of this chapter then. But I did want to just circle back and look at that stuff. So let's put on, our math caps, I'd say now, and go through the typical math problems that come up on the math exam, on the state exam. If we want a little reminder, okay, so thanks, Troy. Page 403 is where chapter 17, the math chapter begins. Couple things, let's say, to preface it. Those little Roman numeral pages. 13 math calculation problems on the state and on the national side. 13. So what does that mean? Nobody's going to miss all of them. But that means you could miss every single math problem and still miss 12 more problems on the national side and still pass. Probably 11. Should I give this But just say, if anybody here considers him or herself math challenged, then don't worry, because you could technically miss all the math problems and 11 more problems on the national side and still get a 75 passing score. So all I've done right here, the first thing I've done, we're going to go over some of the basics to just have memorized when you go in. But let's put that to the side for a second, the stuff that's on 403. What I've put up here are the types of problems that, like I said, come up again on the exam. Because, right, the good news is there's only so much math that we as agents are actually doing out there. So it's not like, there's all these new types of problems to come up with because, we do the math that we do as an agent. So the breakdown of the main categories, I'm just reading through them, and I've just gone through and made a list of everything from page 404 to about 410. So you're going to have commission problems. And they're going to be commission problems coming from sales of properties and rentals of properties. We're going to have problems about splitting that commission between sponsoring brokers, between the licensees, who gets what, okay? We're going to have this one, I put it under here, but it's almost like a little animal of itself. Estimating partial sales of land. You'll see it's a very easy problem, but, I almost can't speak to it. So trust me, this is the type of problem that comes up every once in a while. Another big category, profit and loss on real estate. We're going to talk about, you get some information about you bought a property for this much, you're going to sell it for this much later on, or you had to put some work into it during the period, and did you make a profit or loss on that flip? So those are some problems. Then this is a big category, area calculations. And we mean the area of a space, right, of a parcel of land or something, or a piece of, a structure, an improvement. So we're going to have questions about literally, I'm sorry, I put area there, but I meant to put acreage. Remember I said there were a couple, we're not going to forget the 640 acres rule, and we're not going to forget 1 acre equals, so many square feet. That's this area. We'll do a couple problems. Square footage of an area. The cost of the property based on the size that we just had to figure out up here. So we know it's this big, but now we're going to throw in how much it costs. That's a type of area calculation. Tax problems. We took the time that day. Sometimes I do it one way, sometimes I do it another, just depending on, how the class is flowing. The ad valorem taxes are the ones that ad valorem is the Latin term for according to value. You know that for the examiner. And that's the way that county property taxes are billed in this ad valorem way, according to value, meaning the more expensive your property is, the more taxes that owner is gonna pay to the, the county. And then, we haven't done this one yet. Transfer taxes, Illinois transfer taxes, we're gonna do that today, I'm gonna teach you that. This comes up in, chapter 10, chapter 9 or 10, so we'll do that. Well, I'm gonna do it for you today, but it'll come up, on Monday or Tuesday when we do our makeup classes. Now, this one, another category, prorations at closing, and that's chapter 10, which we haven't done yet. And, the one quick thing I'll say about this is, right, everybody's sitting down at the closing table. The buyer has stuff they're gonna have charged to pay that day. The seller has stuff, trust me, that they're gonna have to pay for that day. Settling up with their county property taxes is one of the things that gets prorated. So there are some parts of a cost that are gonna fall on the buyer, and they're gonna take that cost and put some of it on the seller. So that's where the proration part is coming, and that gets, settled up at closing. And then this is a huge category right here. Financial calculations. So I put this equation up on the board, if you remember, the day we were learning in the finance chapter about how, just interest on a loan works, and I'll put the equation up there again today. We did simple interest, principal and interest. There's a section about servicing the debt. We learned about fees and points already, pretty much in detail, and this one. Remember, so I told you, sometimes I do it one way, sometimes I do it another. We did that hard yield question. Remember, we learned that one discount point, you don't know how much a discount point is until you know how much the person's borrowing, because the discount point equals 1% of how much they're borrowing, the value of the loan. But remember, we took the time to do that hard one, as I said, for every borrower, the loan is a way to finance the property. But for every lender, a loan is an investment. It's a way to make money on money, right? So we said that the rule was, even though a discount point equals 1% of the value of the loan, the amount of the loan, that doesn't come, that whole dollar amount doesn't come down to the investment. Remember, it was,
What does C say?
C says debt service. There's just one small problem in there, so debt service, fees and points, loan to value ratio. I didn't say that. We did that in class though too. That's it. I hope you all get that math problem. This is an easy math problem, loan to value ratio. But this was the hard one. And I said, if you get one of those, and when you're just like, it's worth as much as every other question, right? And just move on. And then qualifying for a loan. We're gonna go over all that. And then the
Quick question, real
Yeah,
quick,
yeah.
while you talking about discount points. If you pay so many discount points, doesn't that erode like the PMI?
He say no one.
Well, I would say, Troy, two separate concepts. Discount points are going to, PMI is related to, directly related to, how much money you have to put down as a down payment. So
Okay.
I want you to just keep that little rule in your mind. PMI has a direct line to how much you're able to put down. Because if you, for any given loan, if you can put down 20% of what the purchase price is, you will never have to buy PMI. But when you put down less than 20%, because that's traditionally what lenders like to see, and that meant they like to see an 80-20 loan to value ratio.
Okay,
So, but back to the discount
You
point,
said PMI has the direct, what, I'm sorry?
I said PMI is directly related to how much you as a borrower are able to put down as your down payment. Because the rule is this, Kaswana, if you put down 20% or more, you won't have to buy PMI. You won't have to buy that type of insurance. Your lender, the light, the flag doesn't go up, the red flag. You put 20% down. But, and I don't want to be real dogmatic about it and say everybody that puts less than 20% down. But more likely than not, if you're putting down less than 20%, so, it probably would have been a good question to get CU to speak to directly. What if it's 19%? What if it's 19%? I don't want to be real dogmatic, but less than 20% flips the PMI switch, because now that loan's a little riskier. You didn't have an 80 to 20 loan to value ratio, meaning I put down 20% and I borrowed 80%, because that was traditionally what lenders wanted to see to get into the conventional market. In other words, you had to go FHA.
so can the discount points get you out of the PMI?
No.
Okay.
Discount points are unrelated to PMI. Discount points.
Because somebody was telling me, I guess I'm asking this because I had a conversation with somebody and they were saying they pay discount points so they don't have to do PMI. But I'm trying to get clarification, I guess. And
Well, I
obviously-
certainly don't wanna misspeak. You know what I would do, and I'll do it for you also, Troy, if you don't, is just because CMR is the expert and she's been lending.
Okay,
for 17
that'd be
years,
great.
If there is some way, but my response to it is, well, if I was trying to get out of PMI, it seems like I'd just put my money toward my down payments.
which would be the discount points, right?
No, your discount points are what you, yeah. Your
Okay.
down payment is just coming out of your pocket. A discount point is what the lender has to charge you because your loan isn't marketable enough in the secondary market to sell it. The end investor wants, it's a really, how should I say this? It's not the easiest concept, right? You know what I mean? To like say, oh, I got it, you know, because a discount point, discount points come, the last one, appraisal calculations and basis. What was I gonna say, discount points are charged, for the most part, primarily, because, what did we say? Almost every single loan that ever gets made to finance property isn't gonna be held by the person that made it. I might even sell it tomorrow. I might
Okay.
sell it in a week, I might sell it in a month, but I'm probably gonna sell it pretty fast. And who's gonna buy it from me? Investors in the secondary market. And if I made a loan to somebody who, and remember, this was the hard part to understand here. Why am I gonna make a loan to somebody at, 5% and not, 5.5%? Because their financial stats don't qualify them for a 5.5% loan. You're gonna have to pay more, you're gonna have higher costs, and what I make and what my credit score is, I don't qualify, I don't get to jump in that circle, I gotta stay at 5%. But you might have to hit me with a discount point now, because nobody's gonna buy my loan at 5.5%, because they're investors and they want it to make, remember, all an interest rate is on a loan to an investor is my yield. I'm making 5%, I'm making 5.5%, and that's a yield. Go ahead, Brian.
So when you say you're selling your loan, do you mean like someone that has more money can hold on to that for the time you're paying it? And then the people that sold you at first is just getting their money back for what they, okay, that's what.
Right, so if the person sold it, you answered your own question, they got their money, they paid their.
That's why they can keep doing it, that's why they keep doing it.
Exactly, I like that you went through the process, because remember, the biggest players in the secondary market, there are a lot of players in the secondary market, 30 plus, and they're probably always changing, but the big ones are Fannie Mae, Ginnie Mae, and Freddie Mac. Those are the three, well, Ginnie Mae, remember, was always a corporate, always a government department, part of HUD. But the other two were private corporations owned by private businessmen and women. And when the market tanked, the government was like, oh no, we're in for a ride, everybody hold on. The world was in for a ride, right? Because it caused a global recession. And so the government bought out, bailed out, whatever you want to think about it, Freddie and Fannie. And those are the biggest players. They're the ones that buy. They're the ones that say, I'm not gonna,
So you said, when you say secondary market, meaning somebody who can't pay their,
No, someone that has a lot of money that can hold
So,
on to it.
let's look at it like this, real quick, Troy. Well, all I mean by the secondary market is this. Let's just, I don't know why I pick convenience stores sometimes, but let's just pick 7-Eleven, right? We go into 7-Eleven, buy a soda, buy a Slurpee, buy a candy bar. That's a secondary market for all those goods we're gonna go buy in there. 7-Eleven bought them from, I'm just using this as an example, the primary market. They bought them from, they bought them from someone and now they're selling them. CO is gonna be, the person that 7-Eleven buys from, is my point. She made the loan, and now she's gonna sell it to, somebody else. So, not the best analogy, but I'm just trying to say there's just, stores, if you wanna think of it, if you wanna think of Fannie Mae as a store that, has people walking in and out of it, and people that are buying mortgages, right? And Freddie Mac is a store that people are walking, there's just investors that are under that roof that decide what business, what mortgage loans look good to them and which ones don't. Just like you might say, that couch is real comfy, cozy, and that one is too hard for me, right? They got their own parameters, why they want loans and why they don't. And it's usually, does it make money for me? But, just like any other product, but their concern is how much money does it make, not like is it comfortable enough.
You have a lot of money.
So let's start here. You are absolutely not going to forget. If everybody can, I'm sure gonna keep talking past 12:30. So you gotta get up and go. Everybody that's here today, Scott hasn't gotten back to you, he's probably busy, hasn't had a chance to get back to me on how to reset this. Everybody's here today, so, except, Sandro, so I, know that, and Hari, right, so I'm Hari. So I'll just let Scott know if he isn't. So I'm just gonna keep talking, but I'll stop formally to pass out everybody's transcript, because if you have to go, you have to go. But I wanna get through at least these problems here.
Yeah, let's go.
No one's gonna forget that 640 acres equals 1 square mile. I said, don't forget this, 1 acre is equal to 43,560 square feet. Those two I just want to put up on their own, because a lot of the other ones people know. So, right, most people remember from math that when I'm measuring something linearly, I'm just walking. I'm measuring how many steps and how long that was if I walked all the way from the right. If somebody wants me to measure an area of something, that was a linear measure. Right, and that linear measures are gonna be just expressed in inches, yards, whatever. But area measurements are gonna be expressed in square something, right? Square feet, square yards. Because we needed to know the length of the linear measure from here to here. And we need one more side usually. The area for a triangle is different, and you should memorize that too. But rectangles and squares are the same, right? I just need to know 2 sides, and then I can figure out the area. I just multiply them together. I don't know how often the 1 mile equals 5,280 feet comes up as a linear measure. So the word of the wise is have everything on page 1 memorized or understand it going into the state exam. But like I said, I can guarantee you pretty much you need to have this one memorized and for sure this, because you won't be able to do the math problems and the legal description questions if you forget this one. Because this also equals 1 section. 1 section is a township is made up of 36 sections. Equals 1 township. So remember I drew this, and we divided it 6 ways, and then we snake
The number,
we enumerated it up to 36, 1 starts here, and
and 15 to school, right?
16.
16.
16 to school.
Because it's kind of in the middle. So, there is one problem that people sometimes get, well, a couple things. This one under square measure that says 9 square feet equals 1 square yard. Sometimes people get this common question that comes up where they ask, how much carpet would somebody have to buy once you figure out the area of something? And it's in here, and they want us to know as individuals that carpet is sold in the square yard. It's not so the answer is, you gotta convert the answer usually. So that's probably the one time you probably have to use that piece of information. But over here, and we'll do the problem together today, where it says cubic measure, 27 cubic feet equal 1 cubic yard, that will be important for you to bring into play if you're one of the ones that gets the question about a warehouse space, and it's in here. Because in a warehouse, right, this is area, and this is in squares, but cubic, this is valuable space in a warehouse, the airspace, because I'm in a warehouse. I'm gonna stack stuff there, so I care about that space. We'll do that problem together. Definitely go in right in your area formulas, but like I said, rectangle and square is just basically length times width. And then the formula for the triangle, right, 1/2 base times height. Most of us remember that. And then, I don't spend too much time on this down here, but most everyone remembers. Changing a percent to what? A decimal, because that's what I might need to do. 2 places to the left, right, 0.50. Changing a decimal to percent 2 places to the right. Simple stuff, pretty simple stuff. I might find a reason, and there'll be a problem or 2 in here where I'll say, hey, here's one of them, where it might be easier for me as the math person, changing either a decimal to a fraction or a fraction to a decimal. And we'll look at a couple of those where I think it's easier to work with the decimal as opposed to the fraction values. So that being said, right, we're not going to forget those things. Let's start looking at how easy, I like to say it like that, these problems are. So the commission problems, the first one deal with sales, super simple. I'm the type of person that even for the super simple stuff, I say, what's my rule? What's my rule of law, or in this case, what's my math rule, meaning what's my equation? This might be so simple, you might not choose to do this. But if I were trying to remember something, and I didn't want to forget, I told you guys you get a scrap piece of paper when you get there. If I don't want to lose or let go of something, I might say, first thing I do, write down on my equation, something like that, I think I might use. Right, so this is simple, but for commission problems, it's the sales price times the commission rate equals my dollars in commission. The reason I do this simple stuff, I consider myself like medium math. I'm no math genius, but I wouldn't say math weakness, so I'm right in the middle, I'd say. So I still rely on this type of stuff because if I get this first problem, pretty simple. It says real estate broker sells a property for, they fed me my sales price, 90 grand. Her rate of commission is 7%. What's the amount of the commission, right? That's super simple. I know I'm just gonna take 90,000 times 7%. They give me all my, sometimes I actually do this, guys, and stay in the line, $6,300, right? The sales price times the commission rate gives me my dollars in commission. The reason I stress this, because what if it were presented to you like this? A real estate broker earns a commission of $6,000 in the sale of a residential property. His rate of commission is 6%. What was the selling price? Maybe you might be like, well, if you have an equation, I think it's easy, right? They told me this is 7%. They told me he made how much?
6,300.
What is that one? 6,000. Oh, 6,000. He made dollars, right? That's what I said. I like saying dollars in commission because this is they're telling me dollars in commission. But here's my variable, the sales price, right? My big variable. X times 7% equals that. Now, I've learned this a lot this time around, but I always bring this on math day because math, you have to find your moment of zen in math, right? This has to equal this. There's no way around it, right? So what I do to this side of the equation, I have to do to this side. That's why I said it's got to be balanced. So how do I balance an equation? If you happen to have forgotten, I'm trying to solve for x. So what I want this sentence to read is x equals something. Because that's the answer, right? So this is how my brain works. That means to me, if I wanted to read x equals something, I got to get this out of here. How do I get something out of here in math? I divide it by itself. Because dividing something by itself equals 1, and any number times 1 equals itself. Right, so divide this side by 0.07, whatever I do over here, I gotta do over here. So I divide this by 0.07, so now this cancels to 1, x equals $6,000 divided by 0.07. So I'm saying it's pretty simple. A lot of people have pointed out, when you do that, oh, was it 0.06? I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, this is 06, guys, so that's why it's $100,000. Sorry, this was 06. So when you do that math, sales price, x equals $100,000. Sure, use the advantages of a multiple choice exam, especially in this area. There'll be sometimes, like if you didn't know that, you could have, manipulated the numbers and
Process of elimination.
Thanks, Laura, that's what I'm talking about. Process of elimination. You could get down perhaps to the right answer in a math one in a different way than maybe, a prose subject matter question about something else. Because you can eliminate it maybe different ways because you just have to know something about math. Now the last one just throws it to you, the last part. A real estate broker earns a commission of $3,000 in the sale of a property that was 50 grand. And what is her rate of commission? So now that we did this, we know we're just doing the same thing. We're putting 50 grand here. This is our big X. We don't know the rate of commission, but they told us our dollars in commission was $3,000. So, like I said, we want our sentence to read X equals something, so that means I gotta get this out of here. Get this out of here by dividing by itself. So if I do that to that side, I gotta do it to this side. So my answer is 3,000 divided by 50,000, and that ends up being 0.06, right, which is 6%. Now, it could go either way. It does not mean because you get an odd number on the exam, there's like one coming up, so you get like, I think 8.911, some weird number. you're not always gonna like get this nice even Steven number on the exam. Don't get thrown off, you know, that you get something.
What number was that?
This week, we're in just the first part, commission problems,
That was number 3.
and that was number 3, yeah. Now, let's look at the rental one. I really like to do this rental one, because remember yesterday or a couple days ago, maybe a Tuesday, when I said, hey, when you hear, or if you get a problem that talks about occupancy rate, in your mind, think, oh, hey, could vacancy rate help me here, you know, thinking of that, or vice versa. If the problem says, oh, the vacancy rate is this, if I just subtract it from 100, whatever they told me, you know, you're gonna get the other one. Occupancy and vacancy rates are like flip sides of the coin. So this one says this, so now we're in the rental world. A real estate salesperson is the property manager for the owner of the local shopping center. The center has 5 units which each rent for $24,000 per year. The center has an annual vacancy factor of 4.5%. The commission for the rental of the units is 9% of the gross rental income. What is the commission for that real estate salesperson for the year? Okay, so first we have to find out total income. But because we've been given a vacancy rate, we know that that's going to take away from total rent, right? Because they're saying, what they're really saying there by giving you the vacancy rate is it's saying the 5 units that rent for, where they say $24,000 a year, aren't always fully occupied every month of that year. So when you hear a vacancy rate of 4.5%, you know that the occupancy rate then
It's 95.5.
is 95.5%. Thank you. So, you know, just a little thing that might or might not, you could choose, because you know this, there are always at least 2, 3, 4, 5 ways to do any one math problem, right? You know what I mean? So whatever you choose to do is, you know, to each his or her own, as long as you get the right answer. So this says, or, you know, you could do it one of a couple ways, but let's take the 5 units that rented for 24 grand and get the potential gross income. And so 24,000 times 5 is, what did they do that for us? They had to do that for us. Oh, that's 120,000, and I guess, but I can do that in my head. So this is taking all 5 units and taking what they each rent for. So this is the potential total income. But it lets me know I'm not making all that. I don't have 100% occupancy rate. I don't have that. I only have 95.5. So because I did that little step, I can now multiply by this instead of, you know, multiplying by this and then subtracting it out. I mean, it's just a little step I've saved myself. But now if I multiply times 0.955, which I'm sure they do that for us here, right, I get 114,600. So that is what my actual total income was for that shopping center. And now the question is, how much did the broker make? We learned that the the commission was 9%. So when you take that times 9%, you get $10,314, and that would be the answer, how much that commission was for that. Okay, so here's a split question that, you know, like I said, these are just the common categories. So a real estate broker sells a property for $65,000. The commission on this sale to the real estate firm within the broker's associated was 7%. The broker receives 60% of the total commission paid to the firm. So that tells me, just so we're all on the same page, you know, the broker, the licensee, is getting a 60% split there, and his or her sponsoring broker is only going to take 40. So that's what they just told us there, because the firm is taking, you know, the difference between 100% and 60%. What is the firm's share of the commission in dollars? So the whole commission is got to be figured out first, right? So 65,000 times the 7%, because that's how much the property sold for. So we get total dollars in commission at 4,550. But now we need to split that between, you know, we know it got split 60-40. They're asking us not what the broker made, but what the broker's firm made, the sponsoring broker. So we just take 4,550 times 40%. What's that, guys? $1,820. So that's how much sponsoring broker is going to get from that deal. Again, and it could be asked, you know, it could get, not that it's that much more complicated, because this is super simple math, so I hope you get these problems. But it could get more complex saying, Okay, it was 70% with the co-op fee offered at 3.5. And then of that buyer, then they tell you that, so, I didn't say that right. The co-op was at like a 3.5, right? So then we're figuring out buyer's agent split. What if they then said, what does the sponsoring broker get on the, then they tell you what their, broker, sponsoring broker split is. So it can go down to the wire, do you know what I mean? So this was an easier one, but you could, have all the parties involved, like having to split up who's getting what. Because if it were just a traditional deal where each buyer, seller had their own broker, right, we would be concerned with what the total commission was, and then what the co-op fee was, because then we could figure out how much was gonna go to seller's brokerage, how much was gonna go to buyer's brokerage, and then we may need to know what each of their individual splits were between broker, sponsor, and broker. So any of those questions are fair game. Okay, this is that one, I mean, it's like a little silly, but this is an easy question. Estimating partial sales of land. It's in the mind of being a subdivider, okay? So the question is, the subdivision contain, you can do this one in your mind because of the number, you'll see what I mean. The subdivision contains 400 lots, so that means that the subdivider bought a big parcel and, divided it, did what they needed to do, submitting their plat and everything to the entities that be, and they got approved with their legal descriptions. So now they're allowed to sell these 400 lots off to consumers. The subdivision contains 400 lots. If a broker has sold 25% of the lots, and his sales staff has sold 50% of the remaining lots, how many lots are still unsold? It's easy because of the numbers. You got 400 lots, the broker sold a quarter of them, so then you've got 300 lots left, right? He sold 100 of them, you got 300 lots left. It says the sales staff sold 50% of what was left, so now it's 150 lots. So super simple, but if the numbers were different, you might have to actually do that math, But that's easy enough. Okay, so profit and loss on real estate. Even though these equations seem super simple, I don't think you could go wrong by making like a one-sheeter. Obviously, you can't bring anything like that into with the exam. But where all these, at the beginning of each one of these, many of them have a little equation at the top. And I'll write each of the equations up here. But you couldn't go wrong just for yourself making a sheet. So you just look at all the equations that you might have to use. And if they come second nature to you, well then you don't have to worry about memorizing them or anything. But if they don't, then the math doesn't have to be hard. Just go at it very rote way. So the formula for profit is investment times percent profit, super simple, equals dollars in profit. It's the same equation on the loss side, right? You take your investment, meaning the money that you bought the property for is what that really means. But I'll explain this thing called basis to you in a second. Times my percent loss equals my dollars in loss. Super simple, but look how it might be presented. And if you're a meaty math person like me, you might want to fall back on these things. So the first one says this. Mr. Wong buys a house for investment purposes for 48 grand. He sells it 6 months later for 54, woo, with no expenditures for fix-up or repair, because that's what basis is. I'll explain it in the next one. What is Mr. Wong's percent profit? So we learned that he bought it for 48,000. They're wanting us to tell them in the problem what was his percent profit. But we know enough to fill in what his dollars in profit were, because he bought it at 48 and he sold it at 54, and so that's 6,000, right? Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, that's what I was going to say. So $6,000 were his dollars in profit. But right, I had to do that step where I took 54,000, right, minus 48, to be able to fill that in down there. But now I can solve an equation. Because I know I want to straight x equals this, I gotta get this out of here. How do I get this out of here? I divide it by itself, but whatever I do on one side of the equation, I gotta do on the other side of the equation. So now 6 grand divided by 48 grand is gonna be on the calculator like 0.125, but we know that it needs to be expressed in percent. So the answer is 12.5% profit. So I got to this. I can explain basis to you with the next one. This is a loss one. It says Ms. Clary purchases a property in 87 for 35 grand. She makes improvements the year after, costing her 15.5. In 1990, she sells it for 46,000. And then they give, the cat out of the bag, what is her percentage loss? Because, the step in between is if you get a problem on the exam where they're telling you somebody has to invest money for fix up and repair, when you take what somebody bought something for and you add to it how much they had to invest in it, those two pieces of monies, together are called your basis in the property. So she bought it for 35 and had to dump 15.5 into it. So her basis is the two together plus the 15.5. So we can't figure out whether she made or lost until we figure out how much she has in it altogether. So her basis in that property, because you could get a real simple question about basis, because the last little concept here is basis, but you're just adding those two things together. What they bought it for, and any monies that you get, told to you in the problem that they also had to put in for fix up, repair, maintenance, whatever the case may be. So $50,500 is what her basis was. So again, back to our simple problem. So my investment, right, you could say my basis is my whole investment. So I have to take 55 here instead of just 35,000. And I don't know this yet, right, my percent loss, but I can figure out my dollars in loss because they told me how much, what did they say they sold it for?
46.
46, so I have to take $50,500 minus 46,000.
3,500.
Thank you. 3,500, so I gotta plug that in, right here, 3,500. That's my dollars and cents. So like I just did, I gotta get this out of here.
45.
Oh, thanks, 45.
No. 500 for 30, 47. Yeah, that's 35.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, for $4,500 loss. Unless there's a mistake there, that's what they have there, 4,500. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, here's the one that I said, don't feel not confident if you get an odd number on the exam, right? So here's an example. So when I take, so I did what I did over here, I have to do to this side, so this is actually 4,500. Divide that by 50,500. You get an odd number on your calculator, you're gonna get 0.0891 something. It's not a truncated, you feel confident truncating it. Look down there, and so the answer is 8.91% loss, when you do that math. So these are pretty easy problems, if you get one of these investment/loss problem, profit/loss problems. And it might come real second nature to you, not even really needing that equation, you just, so I know, my husband's like that, he doesn't have to go through the rudimentary steps of math, but I kind of do, it makes sense to me, but I gotta do the steps. So, either way, if the equations help, I say, you might be nervous that day, right, just support yourself in whatever way you need to. So these area calculations, you're definitely going to get these. These are definitely going to be, few of these questions you can get. So let's read them together. This one, the first concept is talking about area in acres. Okay, so an acre of land has a width of 330 feet. If this acre of land is rectangular in shape, what is its length? So they're not going to give you that little hint that's in parentheses next to it. That's the part I say, do not go into the exam without memorizing that 43,560 square feet equals 1 acre. Because we know that the formula for an area of a rectangle is length times width. They just told us that 330 feet was, whether they gave us the length or the width, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to take it times, what did they want me to figure out? They say that's width, they want me to figure out what. Okay, I'll stick with it. So they want me to figure out L. And unless I memorize that, I don't know what to set the equation equal to, right? This is one of those kind of little tricky ones. It's a rectangular acre of land. They told me it's an acre. And they told me, they want me to figure out area. I know that an area of 1 acre of land equals 43,560 square feet, because acreage is always expressed in square feet. So So to solve it, right, back to solving, it's easy, I just have to get this out of here and divide that by this. But the real thing I wanted to point out is you have to have that memorized, because L now is going to equal 43,560 divided by 330 is 132 feet. Right, because when I multiply 132 times 330, I get my acre.
Honestly,
You know,
the math question is, if you just check your work at each one.
I say that you cannot go wrong. I've had some people share with me, and I was like very chastising, but in that loving way that I am to this person that came back to me, like barely missed passing the exam. Because remember, I shared with people, those people that don't pass, you walk out of there with a diagnostic sheet showing you where you came in at each, at least on the national level, they let you know how well you did, so you can go back and study, for the various components more or less. Now, this person also shared with me, I finished in an hour and a half and didn't check anything. I was like, what? Because you've got 3.5 hours to take the exam. So especially the math, you know what I mean? It can't hurt to go back and see if you made any little silly mistake. Because that particular person missed only by 1 point on each side. So I'm just saying, if they had gone back and, it's a good point, right? I think you got time, put it that way. If you got time, at least give yourself a little support and go back and look at some of it, So, I don't know if this helps. Someone along the way said, that did help me. So even if it helps one person, right? We always hear people say that. Then you are at the exam and go, oh my gosh, what was that number Michelle said equals 1 acre? Okay, so I do this. It may not help anybody. I'm not so 4 and 3 equals 7, right? 7-11. The slogan for 7-Eleven is, oh, thank heaven for 7-Eleven. I say, if I had to walk 43,560 square feet with somebody, oh, thank God for 7-Eleven, right, that those equal that. I'm just saying, if you sit there and, what's that number? So these two equal 7, these two equal 11, add the 0. I mean, you have to remember that it's 5, 6, right? They did that. That's the weird thing. This goes down, that goes up, right? So, the peaks and the valleys. 2 people told me they use that, but I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just saying, whatever helps, I just want people to start working, right? And to pass the test and start working. So the next one, let's see, there's 2 acreage ones. A parcel of land contains 32,000 square feet. What percent of an acre is that? So that's pretty easy, but again, you've got to know, because to figure out what percent something is of something else, somebody taught me this once, and I think it's actually in the book here. 32,670 over 43,560. That's going to give you that answer. But somebody once told me the part is up here and the whole is down here.
I just saw that. That's crazy. Did I
What?
just tell you that?
Did you just say that? Did you just say that?
Yes, I said it.
If I haven't told you yet, what a name. I love your name. I
Thank
want to tell you, any name that has this part. So right, somebody taught me that once, and I think it's the part up here, the hole down here. So when you do that math, you get 75% of an acre. Square footage, a rectangle lot measures 185 feet by 90. Super simple. How much square feet does a lot contain? You just multiply the two together, you get your 16,650 square feet. Here's that wall-to-wall carpeting one. A room measures 15 feet by 21 feet. We want to install wall-to-wall carpeting. You need to calculate the exact amount of carpeting required. Again, the area problem's easy. Just multiply 15 by 21, put your answer in square feet. But like I said, you won't all get this problem, but you'll know it if you get it, because it's asking you about carpeting, right? They want you to convert the square footage you got into square yards, because that is how carpet is sold, in square yards. You have to know the conversion of 9 square feet in 1 yard. So you get 315 square feet when you multiply those two numbers together. But you've got to divide by 9 so you can get it, convert it to 35 square yards. This one is pretty easy. Number 3, a new driveway will be installed. And they give you the measurements, 115 feet by 20 feet. But this is in that vein of, here's how big something is. This is a common theme and a question. And now how much is it going to cost to do it? It could be the whole property itself, but this is telling you now how much it's going to cost to pave that. 65 cents per square foot. So you just take it to the, multiply, 115 by 20, and you get your 2,300 square feet. But now that I know that's how big it is, and they tell me it's 65 cents per square foot, right, I'm just gonna multiply by 65 cents, and I get $1,495. Easy math, right? So there's nobody's gonna miss 13 math questions. The next one's in the same vein, the same exact question, but instead of saying how much is a driveway based on how big it is, how much is the property based on how big it is. A house measures 28 feet by 52 feet and sells for $64,000. What is the price per square foot? So it's coming at it just a little bit differently. So we have to take 28 times 52, and that is 1456. That's our total square feet. And they told us it sold for $64,000. Then how many square feet, how much was it per square foot? So we have to divide by the square feet to get, thank you, 43.96 per square foot. And they could go either way with that, right? They tell you, just like the driveway one was above, oh, it sells for so much per square foot. So what was the selling price, and that would have been the $64,000 that they came at it the other way. These are all cost per site. But this one is showing you can't go wrong. Don't forget that the triangle area formula is 1/2 base times height. This is a triangular lot, measures 200 feet along the street and 500 feet in depth on the side, perpendicular to the front lot line. If the lot sells for 10 cents per square foot, what is its selling price? So you just have to know you gotta take that 1/2. This base times height is gonna be 500 times 200, and there you get, you would get 100,000. But when you when you divide by the 2 or multiply by 1/2, however your brain wants to think of it, you get 50,000 square feet. But then they let us know that it sells for 10 cents per square foot. So you get 50,000 times your 10 cents, and then you get 5,000 is the total sale price for that lot. Probably was a vacant lot. Tax problems. I am going to skip this one right now. We did some ad valorem problems that day in class, but we haven't done this one yet, the next one. I'm gonna do it now, the Illinois State transfer tax. Because I know there's gonna be at least 1 or 2 of you that can't come to the makeup class that we have when we do that chapter 9 next week. And so that's where, just so everybody knows, that's where this comes up. And everybody, I don't want to be super dogmatic, but I'll stick my neck out and pretty much say everybody on the exam is going to get a transfer tax question. So what we're about to go over, you're gonna get this. So if you read the Illinois Transfer Tax Act, this, like I said, we would have gone over this and done this math problem. We will do it next week in chapter 9. But the Illinois Transfer Tax Act says this, literally, first line says, for the privilege of selling your real estate, of transferring your real estate, here's the tax that this county and state are going to charge you for the privilege of you, private property owner, being able to sell your rights. So the county has a tax. It's nominal. It's not a huge burden on the seller pays these in Illinois. So there's the county and there's the Illinois state tax. And these are both called transfer taxes because, like I said, it's the tax that this county and state charges the private property owner to be able to have the rights to sell. They charge a tax. So in Illinois, and in every county in Illinois, these are the values. Every county charges 25 cents per $500 of value of the subject real estate. And the state tax in Illinois is 50 cents per $500 of value of the subject real estate. So what that means is, in order to figure out how much transfer tax is going to be associated with that transfer, that sale, we have to look at the purchase price and divide by 500, because we need to know how many 500s, that's what that means, right? How many 500s are in the purchase price? So let's, the first one they do, of course, is tricky, because they throw this assumed mortgage in there. I wish there was one that was a little easier back here, but Let me just make up some numbers first and then we'll do this one, because this is one of the exceptions that they show here, which is good, they're pointing that out in the back of the book for us, but because of our snow days, we didn't get to go over it initially. So let's pick a purchase price that ends, in your minds, I want you to get oriented this way. Purchase prices that end in either 000 or 500. So you got a purchase price 64,000, 100,000, 250,000, whatever. Or you have 250, 500, 1,500. You know, so it either ends in 000 or 500. 500 is going to go into that number evenly. So I'm not going to have a remainder. So I'm going to do those ones differently. They're the easier ones. If my purchase price is $300,000, what I'm going to have to do is, to figure out transfer tax, is take $300,000 and always the first step in any of these transfer tax problems is going to be to divide by 500. First step. When I divide 300,000 by 500, I get what? Here's my calculator.
You were doing it right?
Yeah, it should be 6.
Well, yeah, you was doing it. You stopped.
600. Okay. I don't know if the dollar sign there, because there is no, I made a mistake putting the dollar sign. I just care how many times it goes in. Because these are units. Think of these as units, right? Don't put a dollar sign here. 500 goes into, this is a dollar sign. 500 goes into this
600.
600 times. But don't put a dollar sign up there because it's units, okay? So I got 600 units
$500.
that I now, to figure out my county, I take 600 times, because that's how many 500s, right? We're in there. I take 600 times 0.25, and on my county side, my transfer tax is $150.
Oh, it's
And then,
cents?
yeah, so this is 600, and then when I take 600 times 0.50, or 50 cents, I get $300. So all I did here was take 600 times 0.25, and I get 150. And here I take 600 times 0.50, and I get $300. Now know this. Everybody's gonna get this question, so you're gonna have to read the one you get very carefully. If the question says, what are the transfer taxes? They want you to do both of these, add them together. I promise you, the wrong answer for each of these individually will be sitting down there ready for you to choose it. It's like such a silly reason to get an easy problem wrong, you know what I mean? But if it singles out, we want the county or we want the state, then you just do it accordingly. You might only have to multiply it times 25 and get that answer, and that's the right answer. Or if they say the state, you multiply it times the 50 cents and you get that answer, okay? This is bringing it up one level to a little bit of a harder problem, and this is probably the way it's going to come at you. If it does not end in 000 or 500, I'm going to have a remainder, right? So let's just for a second pretend that the purchase price was $3,500. I got 601 here, right? And so I would have made this 601, and I had to make this 601, and this would have been $300.50, and this would have been $150.25, right? But I'm going to make it harder. Let's say that the purchase price was this. It's not ending in 500 or 000. It's going to be 601 point something. I don't care what the point something is. All I care about is that there was a remainder, because I haven't filled this in yet. The real true phrasing up here is $500 of the subject property. Both of these say this, or fraction thereof. Because whatever this remainder is, it's a fraction of $500. So all it means, it doesn't matter if it's 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. One time somebody asked me, why am I rounding down? I'm like, it's not rounding rules. It's the fact that there's any remainder here at all. It means I gotta bump this up to 602. I just bring it up 1 unit because it's a fraction of $500. So I'm paying 25 more cents on the county side for that little fraction, and I'm paying 50 cents more on the state side for the little fraction. So in that last problem we did, where the purchase price was $300,501, that would mean I gotta take 601 point, let's just do it, so like, you know, so 300,501 divided by 500 equals 601.002. So how nominal that is, doesn't matter. Still gonna make you go 601 to 602 here. And so now this is gonna be 50 cents, you know, this is gonna be 301.
Yeah.
So that's it in a nutshell. There's one more little exception I'm gonna teach you. More likely than not, you're not gonna get that super simple one where it ends in 500 or 000, and you're gonna have to know, oh, I gotta add 1 unit before I multiply by 25 cents or 50 cents. And I said, don't forget, if it says transfer taxes, it's up to you how you wanna do it. You could do them individually and then multiply, you know, by 25 and 50 cents, or you can just multiply by 75 cents if you want to, if it says what are the transfer taxes. Because if it's general, they want both. But if it's specific, they want which one they ask for. Now, the one exception to this rule is this. If you get this particular problem that's right here, which lets you know that there was an assumed mortgage in that transaction, and they let you know here that it was gonna sell for $125,000, but somebody, the buyer, is gonna assume the seller's mortgage in the amount of $37,450. This is all you have to do. You just subtract from the purchase price, whatever the dollar amount is they tell you the assumed mortgage is. And now you work with that figure to divide your 500 into. And the reason is this. When that seller bought that property, you know, the time before, and they had their mortgage, and they were paying transfer taxes on that, that $37,450 was part of that purchase price, and the transfer taxes got paid on that purchase price. It's probably one of the few times that Uncle Sam isn't standing in line to get some double taxation, right? Because that money already got taxed on the time before. Now, it is now, I was going to go in an additional 15 minutes. I don't know if you guys have time for an additional 15 minutes. I'm going to say the prorations at closing, they're all really super simple. The one thing I want you to go into the exam, if you're not going to be able to make a makeup class for chapter 9, is know this, chapter 10. You get a question on the exam. You're in a closing, they're trying to divvy up one of the things that typically get, divvied up at a closing between buyer and seller. We follow in Illinois technically a banker's year. And that means that we don't have 365 days in a year. We have 30 days per month, so 360 is the total number. So if you are going to find a per diem for the whole year, you're dividing by 360, not 365. And if you're finding a per diem for the month, you're just, no matter what month they give you, you're doing 30, instead of 31, or 28, or whatever the case may be. Now, Monday and Tuesday, so you're able to come on Tuesday, right?
I'll be on Tuesday, yeah.
And you can't come on Tuesday, right?
No, I can't.
Okay. Is there anybody that's not gonna be here on Tuesday? Okay, this is how we, except for Eduardo.